What happens when three aggressive bikers try to humiliate a black man at a gas station? You won't believe how his calm demeanor and a single phone call turned the situation upside down. The sun was setting over a quiet suburban gas station when Michael, a black mechanic with hands as skilled as his heart was kind, pulled over to help an elderly woman. Her car sat lopsided, its front tire completely flat. She looked flustered, clutching her purse like it might save her from her predicament. Michael had just finished a long day at the garage, his overalls still smudged with grease, and was eager to get home. But seeing her struggle, he couldn't just drive by. He parked his motorcycle, grabbed his toolkit, and walked over with a reassuring smile. "Ma'am, looks like you've had a rough evening," he said, rolling up his sleeves. "Let me take care of that tire for you." Her face lit up, a mix of relief and surprise. "Oh, bless you, young man. I've been stuck here for over an hour. Not a single soul stopped to help." Michael worked swiftly, his practiced hands moving with precision as he replaced the damaged tire. The woman kept thanking him, her voice full of gratitude. As he secured the last lug nut, she reached into her purse, but Michael waved her off. "No need for that, ma'am. Just pay it forward someday," he said, his voice warm but firm. With her car back in shape, the woman drove off, waving enthusiastically through her rolled-down window. Michael felt good, a small act of kindness to end his day. He turned toward his motorcycle, ready to head home. But just as he was about to rev the engine, the peace of the moment shattered. The roar of three motorcycles cut through the air like thunder. Three white men, clad in leather jackets with ominous club patches, rolled into the station and parked right in front of him, blocking his exit. The leader, a tall man with a red bandana tied around his head, dismounted and pointed a finger at Michael. "Well, well, what do we have here?" the man sneered, his voice laced with mockery. "What's a guy like you doing around here? Don't you know this ain't your kind of neighborhood?" Michael, calm as ever, glanced at the man and then back at his bike. "Just stopping to fill up," he said evenly, not wanting to escalate the situation. But the bikers had other plans. They spread out, circling him like wolves around prey. Their laughter was loud and obnoxious, their comments dripping with venom. One of them, shorter but stockier, leaned in and snickered. "You must have taken a wrong turn, buddy. This ain't your place." Michael didn't respond. He kept his focus, gripping his helmet tighter, as if preparing for the storm he knew was brewing. The third biker, casually swinging a chain in his hand, stepped closer. "You'd better pack up and go before we give you a real reason to leave." The leader in the red bandana laughed harshly and added, "Might want to check the mirror before you mouth off, man. Don't need us making that face of yours any blacker." The comment was a punch to the gut, but Michael didn't flinch. His grip on the helmet tightened, and for a brief second, his jaw tensed. But instead of lashing out, he calmly reached for his phone, his fingers steady. That, of course, only fueled their taunts. "Oh, what's this?" the chain swinger jeered, throwing up his hands in mock fear. "He's calling 911. Go ahead, man. Tell them we said hi." Their laughter echoed across the lot, attracting a few curious glances from passers-by. But as Michael's calm demeanor persisted, their smugness began to falter. He didn't yell, didn't beg, just calmly typed something into his phone and slipped it back into his pocket. The leader squinted at him, his confidence dimming for a split second. "You think that phone's gonna save you? Newsflash, boy, you're on your own out here." Michael looked up, locking eyes with the man for the first time. His gaze was steady, unshaken. "We'll see about that," he said quietly, his voice as sharp as the blade of a knife. What happened next changed everything. You won't want to miss how this unfolds. Stay with us, because the stakes are about to skyrocket. Michael remained seated on his motorcycle, his face calm but unreadable. as the bikers circled him like vultures sizing up their next meal. He had already made it clear he wasn't looking for trouble, but clearly these men had other plans. The first blow came without warning. One of the bikers, a stocky guy with a chain draped over his shoulder, kicked Michael's motorcycle hard. The bike tipped over with a loud crash, the sound echoing through the gas station. A collective gasp rippled through the few onlookers watching from a safe distance. Michael didn't move, not a flinch, not a word. He simply reached down, picked up his phone, and dialed. "Yeah," Michael said into the receiver, his voice unnervingly steady. "This is Michael Henderson. I need backup. I'll send the location now." He hung up, sent a pin to whoever was on the other end, and slid the phone back into his pocket. His movements were deliberate, like a man with a plan. But his cool composure only seemed to aggravate the bikers further. The leader, Red Bandana, let out a loud, mocking laugh and sauntered closer. "You think someone's coming to save you out here? Let me tell you something, man. This is our turf. No one's got your back." Michael didn't answer. He calmly bent down, set his motorcycle upright, and checked for damage. Then, as if nothing had happened, he walked over to the metal bench by the gas station and sat down. His silence was deafening, a sharp contrast to the bikers' escalating aggression. They didn't know what to make of him, and that uncertainty only fueled their frustration. "What? You think you're too good to talk to us?" One of them barked, stepping forward with clenched fists. He grabbed at Michael's collar, yanking him forward slightly, but Michael's expression didn't change. His eyes locked on the man's face with a quiet intensity that sent a ripple of unease through the group. Around them, the scene was quickly becoming a spectacle. Bystanders started pulling out their phones, recording the standoff. Some whispered to each other, but no one dared intervene. Michael's stillness, combined with the bikers' loud and brash behavior, created a strange energy that no one wanted to break. Red Bandana noticed the phones and scowled. "Oh, great," he sneered, throwing up his hands. "We've got an audience now. Go ahead, film it. See if I care." But it was clear he did care. The cameras added pressure, and he wasn't the type to back down in front of a crowd. Instead, he doubled down, stepping so close to Michael that their faces were almost level. "You really don't get it, do you?" he growled, his voice low but menacing. "We're the law around here, not the cops, not your little phone calls. Us. And right now, we're saying you're done." Michael leaned back slightly, his face impassive. "Is that so?" he replied, his voice so calm it was almost unnerving. The tension was unbearable, like the calm before a storm. The bikers revved their engines, the deafening noise adding to the chaos. A few onlookers shifted uncomfortably, murmuring about whether someone should call the police. But then, as if on cue, a sound pierced through the noise, one that brought everything to a halt. Sirens. The wail of police cars echoed in the distance, growing louder by the second. The bikers froze, their bravado suddenly faltering. Red Bandana turned his head sharply, his smirk replaced by a flicker of unease. Michael didn't move. He didn't smile, didn't gloat. He simply looked up at the leader, his expression unreadable, but undeniably confident. The balance of power had shifted, and everyone could feel it. This is it. Everything you've been waiting for is about to unfold. Stay with us to see how Michael flips the script and takes control of the situation in the most unexpected way. The air at the gas station was thick with tension. The sirens that had just pierced the bikers' bravado were now deafening as a convoy of police cars pulled into the lot. Their flashing lights reflected off every surface, illuminating the scene like a stage set for justice. But that wasn't all. Right behind the squad cars came 3 gleaming motorcycles, their riders clad in leather jackets emblazoned with a striking eagle emblem, the unmistakable mark of the Steel Eagles, one of the most respected and feared biker clubs in the region. Michael stood up from the bench, brushing off his jeans with deliberate calm, and walked toward the new arrivals. The first officer to step out of the lead police car was a tall, imposing black man with 3 stars on his crisp uniform. His presence commanded respect, and the authority in his voice left no room for debate. "Everything okay here, Michael?" the officer asked, his tone professional, but laced with a hint of familiarity and respect. Michael nodded toward the bikers who were now frozen in place, their earlier arrogance evaporating like morning dew under the rising sun. "These gentlemen," Michael said, his voice steady and cutting, "thought they could claim this place as their territory. Seemed like they needed a reminder that the world doesn't work that way." The officer turned to face the bikers, his expression hardening. "All right, everyone, hands where I can see them. Identification now." The bikers scrambled, fumbling for their wallets, their earlier bravado replaced by visible panic. Red Bandana tried to regain some semblance of control, stepping forward with a nervous laugh. "Come on, officer. This is just a misunderstanding. We didn't mean anything by it." Before the officer could respond, the rumble of the Steel Eagle's engines cut through the air as the riders dismounted. They were an intimidating sight, towering figures with confident strides and silent resolve. The leader of the group, a burly man with a salt and pepper beard, walked straight to Michael and extended his hand. "Sorry we're late, Prez," he said, his voice carrying the weight of unspoken respect. Traffic. The bikers in Red Bandana's crew turned pale as realization dawned on them. Their eyes darted between Michael and the Steel Eagles, the pieces of the puzzle snapping into place. Red Bandana's voice wavered as he stammered, "Wait, you're—" Michael turned to face him, a small, calm smile playing on his lips. "That's right. I'm the regional president of the Steel Eagles. And you? You just made the mistake of thinking you could bully the wrong person." The shift in power was palpable. Red Bandana looked around desperately, but there was no escape. His crew was outnumbered, and the police officers were already stepping forward with handcuffs at the ready. "You've got 2 choices," Michael said, his tone firm but almost conversational. "You can apologize to me right here in front of everyone for your little performance, or you can let the officers here handle it, and we'll see how your territory looks from behind bars." The bikers muttered hurried apologies, their voices barely audible over the sound of phones recording every second of their humiliation. But the police weren't done. The officer in charge ordered them to turn around and place their hands behind their backs. "You're all being detained for public disturbance and destruction of property," he said. "Let's go." As the bikers were led away, Michael walked back to his motorcycle, his calm demeanor never wavering. He adjusted his gloves, threw a leg over the seat, and turned to the small crowd that had gathered. Phones were still out, cameras recording. But this time there was a palpable sense of awe and respect in the air. Michael's voice carried as he addressed them. "Next time you see someone, don't judge them by how they look. You never know what they're capable of." The crowd erupted into applause, some cheering, others nodding in agreement. Within hours, the videos went viral, sparking conversations about courage, justice, and the dangers of prejudice. Michael rode off into the sunset, a quiet but undeniable reminder of the power of standing up against injustice with dignity and strength.